We're going to check in with Lindsey Boetsch.
Yeah, she's out live this morning in the heat.
A little sweaty?
It's very warm out here. It's about 77, 78 degrees, and it definitely feels like it. And with temperatures in the triple digits, heat exhaustion is definitely a possibility today, especially if you're out in the heat for a prolonged period of time. Elizabeth Hunenfeld is a Blessing RN nurse in the emergency room. And how many people do you see coming in with heat exhaustion?
Well, it would be hard to judge because a lot of times people might come in and it might be heat related, but we just maybe don't know it, and they could have so many other things going on that we don't know it. So it's really hard to judge that, but definitely the longer that the heat wave continues, the more we're going to see. So.
And there's more than just heat exhaustion in terms of heat related illnesses.
Correct. There's heat exhaustion and heat stroke, and they are actually two different things. Heat exhaustion is that stage right before heat stroke when you're still sweating, but you might be nauseous or dizzy, and that's when you really need to be getting into the shade at the very least, if not air conditioning. You need to be drinking a ton of water, and you really need to be getting yourself out of the heat. Whereas heat stroke is you're not sweating, confused, maybe even unconscious, and that's when people need to be calling the ambulance and getting emergency medical services there immediately.
How can you prevent even coming close to heat exhaustion?
Well, basically, going into the shade as often as you can, making sure that you are hydrated before you go out into the heat so that you're not having trouble trying to overcome that dehydration and then drinking more, having to drink more water. Also, just using precautions like, light clothing, wide-brimmed hats, sunscreen, and taking it easy. And if you're not some marathon runner or something, not exercising as much in this heat or doing it earlier in the morning or later at night.
A lot of people are going to be either on the river or out at the lake, out by the pool, drinking alcohol. What can that do, especially in this heat?
Well, when you're drinking alcohol, you're putting fluids into your body that is not hydrating at all and actually can be dehydrating. So you really need to avoid alcohol in this weather entirely when you're outside, and be drinking water. If you are drinking alcohol, make sure that you're drinking plenty of water and not overdoing it, because you will end up doing yourself more harm than good.
All right, thank you very much. You mentioned sunscreen, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that and sunburns. I've had a few of them this summer, and actually even Sunday I thought that I was getting a little heat exhaustion, felt a little dizzy. My ears started to clog up a little bit, went to the shade. Thankfully that helped a little bit.
Good.
And it seems to creep up fast.
Right.
You don't even realize it's happening.
That's what I say. She can kind of joke about it, but she caught the signs and symptoms her body was giving, and that's what your body tends to do, is give you symptoms to say, hey, slow down. Anything else I can say there that's factual? Lindsey Boetsch is here. That's factual.
Another fact is it's hot outside and she's out there in the heat.
Yes, and we're talking about sunscreen because the sun's going to be out, very important. There's different types. There's a spray type of sunscreen. There's also lotion that you can wear, but it's very important that you wear some. And Elizabeth Hunenfeld joins me now, and she is a Blessing ER nurse. And how important is this? I mean, we stress put sunscreen on, but in the long run, it's very, very important for your skin.
Absolutely. Burn damage is cumulative over time. So the more you put it on, the less damage you're going to have in the end. Of course, we know that the sun's rays can cause premature aging, skin cancer, and skin cancer, I don't think people realize, can be deadly. And so that's something that, a lot of young girls who go to tanning beds and things kind of put out of their minds, but very much so can be fatal. So.
And immediate sunburns are bad as well. I mean, they're not just uncomfortable, but they're bad.
Correct, absolutely, especially if you're starting to get into the second-degree burn phase. Not only is your skin trying to heal, but then, if you have to go outside anytime in the next few days, you're causing even more damage to your skin. And yeah, they're extremely uncomfortable. We all know that. I'm healing from one right now, so even though I did put on sunscreen. So.
And you have some face sunscreen in your hand. That's very important, and that's SPF 55.
I do, and the nice thing is that more and more companies are starting to come out with sunscreens that are, for people with oily skin, and they're coming out with sunscreens for all different skin types, so that anymore you almost don't have an excuse not to wear it because there are so many different types now. You want to make sure that the sunscreen that you get is at least an SPF 15 and also does protect you from UVA and UVB rays.
Where are some areas that are very important to put on that people sometimes kids forget about?
Ears is a big one. A lot of times men will wear hats, but the hats don't cover their ears, and that's where a lot of skin cancers are seen. Of course, your nose, your lips is another one. You want to get chapstick that has an SPF in it as well. So pretty much ears, lips, face, you know, anywhere that's going to be exposed is very important.
Now you're a mom, and how do you get your kids to put on sunscreen? Do you have any tips or tricks?
There are sunscreens out there that go on colored, like they have like purple or something. My kids kind of think that's fun. Also the spray sunscreens, it's pretty easy to catch them as they're going by if you just spray them. And they make a lot of fun sunscreens now with different characters and things on them. But the colored one is the one I find the most success with personally with my kids, just because they think it's fun to be purple for a little while. And that does go away and it doesn't seem to stain clothing. So
all right, thank you very much. Again, very important, remember to wear sunscreen, especially today. You're definitely going to need it. This is just an SPF 30. Waterproof is good if you're going to be out by the pool. I find the spray is a lot easier. I feel like the lotions are a little bit sweatier, but these go on pretty good.
I always like to spray. The face stuff always seems to burn my face.
Yeah, it's what kids have.
You're not supposed to spray this on your face. I have done that before, and it says actually on the can, don't spray on your face. I don't know why I didn't listen to the can. Listen to the can, it knows what it's talking about.
Instructions? What? Even the cream, though.
What?
Burns.
Yeah, you need to get a little face stick that has the cute little kids on it.
There we go. I'll be purple.
Tear-free.
I'll look like Barney at the pool. That'll be cute. We're going to check in with Lindsey Boetsch again.
Yeah, she's live out in the heat this morning. Good morning, Lindsey.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, we just had a nice breeze come through. It feels very nice. Still in the upper 70s, but triple digits again today, which means it's going to be hot, and there is a threat for heat exhaustion and even heat stroke if you're not careful. Elizabeth Hunenfeld is an RN at Blessing Hospital's emergency room, and talk a little bit about what heat exhaustion is.
Well, heat exhaustion is the precursor to heat stroke. It's sort of your warning that you really are getting into that danger territory. Heat exhaustion, you're still sweating, but you might feel nauseous or dizzy, lightheaded, those kinds of things. And that is your sign to get into the shade and to really start drinking more fluids and to get out of the heat as soon as possible.
Water is very, very important. Dressing in light clothing. What are some other tips that you have if people are going to be in the heat?
Definitely wide-brimmed hats and making sure that your skin stays moist, and whether that's, you know, with sunscreen or spraying water on yourself or taking dips into the pool, and making sure that you are paying attention to your body, to what your body's telling you, and making sure that whenever you're out with your children that you're encouraging them to drink as often as possible, because they're not going to want to stop and drink. You're going to have to kind of encourage them to do that more in this weather.
Now you said the S word, sunscreen.
Absolutely. Sunscreen is so important. I don't think, well, like you said, nobody really likes to put it on, but there are so many more products coming out these days that make it so easy and so much better to put on that there really is no excuse. And I also know that some people worry that they have oily skin or something, that the sunscreen will break them out if they have sensitive skin. But again, there's so many products out there that can actually match what your skin is.
And that sunburn is going to be a lot worse than if you break out a little bit.
Absolutely. That sunburn is going to be hard to heal from, take a long time, and painful, and just not good for you.
Now, sprays, when you put on a spray, you should do it rather close, but you should probably put on a little bit more than you think.
Absolutely. Sprays are absolutely wonderful for children, especially because, you know, it's a quick, you can catch them as they go by, but the problem being that maybe doesn't cover quite as thickly as a lotion, so definitely spray it close to your skin and make sure you're covering all areas and really focus while you're using a spray sunscreen.
And now I asked you earlier about some tips and tricks for kids, and one of the things that you mentioned was using a colored sunscreen. So that's pretty neat. They're coming out with a lot more things to make putting on sunscreen, I guess, a little bit more fun for your kids, but definitely easier to put it on them.
Excellent. Then you can
Sounds
tell
fun to me too.
That,
I wanted
that coverage
purple.
is good if you're all purple.
Well, that's what it's really for.
Yep.
But you know,
Right.
shh, just
Yeah,
tell the kids it's purple.
If it helps the kids. And you'll go through a lot of sunscreen